The GDC released their 2026 State of the Games Industry report today, and it has a result which surprised me quite a lot. And that result is just how overwhelmingly game dev is rejecting generative AI. Now, I'm a GenAI skeptic, both because I think the way that the GenAI technology that we have has been built through theft and generally immoral practices by the mega corporations that have been developing it, but also because I don't think it will ever be as useful as its promoters claim it will be. Forget about AGI, forget about the agentic workflows that they claim will completely replace people's jobs. The basic capabilities of generative AI are significantly more limited than all the claims the industry makes. And even more so, more limited than I think tech industry leaders are telling each other. I think it benefits tech industry leaders a lot to claim that their workforces are using a lot of generative AI technology to boost their own reputations amongst other industry leaders and potentially bring in more investment, even when that's not actually happening. And the survey of game devs carried out by the Game Developer Conference seems to back up that in an even more dramatic fashion than I was expecting. I was expecting maybe views on generative AI amongst tech workers in the games industry to be roughly 50-50. We have a lot of people working in game dev who are pretty boosterish around generative AI. And especially over the last year, we'd expected adoption to have gone up a little bit. After all, everyone's now talking about how Claude Code is completely revolutionizing the industry and that the GenAI models have come a long way. That's not what is happening. The Game Developer Conference survey showed that adoption rates amongst GenAI workers have actually stalled. They're exactly the same this year that they were a year ago. Meanwhile, hostility towards the technology, the amount of people in the games industry who think that it's having a negative impact on the industry, has increased from 18% 2 years ago to 52% this year. And you thought 52%, that means it's about 50-50, right? No, it's 52% who think it's having a negative impact and 7% who think it's having a positive impact. That's overwhelmingly one-sided. And actually, when you look at what the industry companies are doing, what we've heard a lot about recently is industry heads saying that they're driving adoption rates in their workforces. And you're hearing from a lot of companies in which it's becoming mandatory to use generative AI. Turns out that's not what's happening in the industry either. That's also a misrepresentation. Instead, only 6% of game dev firms are making it mandatory to use GenAI tools. Meanwhile, almost 3 times as many, 16%, are banning GenAI tools completely from their workflows. So when we're hearing a lot in tech around it's inevitable and there's no downsides and it's only producing positive results and everyone's using it, you've got to take advantage of it, use it yourself, or you're going to get left behind. That's not what's actually happening. That's a misrepresentation of how game dev, at least in the tech industry, is using GenAI. Rather than it becoming inevitable, rather than everyone using it, instead it's stalling and developing an increasing amount of hostility from tech workers in the game dev industry. And on top of that, more firms are banning its use than forcing their workers to use it. So the next time a game CEO tells a journalist, we're bringing in GenAI technology because everyone else is, and if we don't, we're going to get left behind. It gives nothing but benefits, and everyone's just being a whiny crybaby complaining about it. They're not telling the truth. They're making excuses for forcing a technology on their workers, which, let's be honest, a lot of them are doing because they see the opportunity to lay off a large amount of their workforces if it pulls off, which it won't. We've seen it already. We've seen many firms in the last few years through this boosterish idea of what GenAI can actually do, laying off enormous amounts of their workers and then stalling out. Maybe even hiring back some of the people they fired when they realize that generative AI technologies aren't actually capable of doing what their workforces could do. I think we need to see a lot more of this going forwards. Actual investigations of what workers see as happening with generative AI instead of just the nonsense that's pumped out by tech leaders who want to grab another investment check.